Hi, this is Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to offer you some reflections on this feast of the Epiphany. Now, I don't want to sound sexist or anything like that, okay? And I realize full well that women are completely able to do some of the same tasks as men and just as well, okay? But I have had many wives, many women tell me how handy it is to have a man around the house who knows how to fix things and repair things. Everything from the dripping sink to the bathtub not draining to you name it. Those kind of guys are so valuable. I'm not one of those kind of guys. I don't know how to fix anything. But there was one time when I guess a worker outside the house had stepped on top of the gas meter and in doing so had shut off the gas inadvertently. And so that morning when I got up, the stove wasn't working, the hot water wasn't hot, and I went outside and I was just looking at the meter and I didn't know what to do, and I was just fooling around with something and got it working. I was out of my mind with happiness. I even called someone to let them know. I fixed it myself. The joy I took was well out of proportion to the event that gave rise to it. But it gave me a kind of, I don't know what, a sense of accomplishment, of completeness, you know. But speaking seriously, what does give us a sense of fulfillment, of a fulfilled life? You know, certainly it is not the length of years that one might live. And we can see that sometimes when someone dies young. And our reaction to that young death is one of, oh, what a shame. They should have had so many more years ahead of them to live a fulfilling life. We don't measure a fulfilled, a useful, a valuable life in the number of years, do we? I certainly do know, and I imagine you do too, some people who are on in their years and they're miserable and angry. And the length of years haven't given them any kind of fulfillment at all. So, what does give us that sense of a life well lived, accomplishment, fulfillment? I think the answer is in this feast of the Epiphany, and that revelation is buried within this story. The story of these Persians coming halfway across the known world, looking for this newborn king. And not a king like any other king. The world was filled with kings, as we would see in King Herod, murderous, greedy, threatening, and threatened. The world is filled with those sorts, and was then and still is now. No, they were looking for a king who would be doing something far different. A king who would be unifying a world. A king that would be bridging cultures, bridging faiths, bridging eras. This was the king they came looking for because their world was filled with religious bigotry and hatred. You know, the Greeks, educated, looked down upon the Jews as ignorant. And the Jews looked at the Greeks as being filthy and unclean. Likewise, the Samaritans and the Jews fought with each other over whose religion was superior. That kind of religious animosity and cultural animosity, that was true in their world, and doesn't it sound familiar in ours as well? Those magi came looking for this king that would somehow, some way, bridge all of that. And that is exactly what happened. There in that stable, these Greeks, these Persians, these men of philosophy, these very wealthy, wise men, sat down shoulder to shoulder with two young, uneducated Jews, Mary and Joseph. And they were in harmony with one another, because they both were seeing the same thing. They were seeing the child Jesus, who would, in time, be that bridge between cultures, between religions, between people. That was bringing fulfillment to their lives. We, like the Magi, are on a journey through our lives, and what brings fulfillment to it is what brought fulfillment to theirs. To be able to look for and find the face of God. And in seeing that face of God, realizing that we're saved, that we have hope. We can see it best in the words of the old prophet Simeon in Matthew's Gospel, when Mary and Joseph bring baby Jesus into the temple, and Simeon takes one look at that little baby and takes him into his arms and realizes that the Messiah has at last come, and says, "Now, Master, you may dismiss your servant to go in peace. Your word has been fulfilled. My eyes have seen the salvation." Or in other words, at last, I can die happy. I have had a fulfilled life. So, during this Christmas season, where have we seen the face of God in our journey through our lives? Well, I saw it just the other day. The parish staff, we all went out for lunch together. And I guess there's about 15 of us, 17 people in the staff. And we're all sitting around the table, and some of the staff only speak Spanish, don't know much English, and some only English and don't know any Spanish. But nevertheless, everybody was talking with each other and everybody getting along with each other, and it was fantastic. Here are all of these people who work so hard for our parish of Visitation. And they're not getting rich working for the church by any means, but they are pouring themselves out for the people of God. And here they were with one another, having a wonderful time and laughing. And suddenly I just kind of stepped back from it and just was looking at it. And I just realized what I was really seeing. I was seeing the face of God. I was seeing that kind of joy, that kind of harmony, that selflessness that Christ brought into this world there, around the table, sitting with me. And I thought to myself, I get Simeon. If I were to die that day, I would have died a happy man. I would have died fulfilled, because I was really seeing the face of God. So, tell me, during this Christmas season, where have we all, seen the face of God? Because God was most certainly present. And within all of the work and the hubbub and the hurry of the Christmas season, it can be easy to look past it. But maybe right now, before this Christmas season ends, I have to ask myself, we ask ourselves, where have I seen the face of God in my journey through life? Because it was most certainly there. And if we do see that face of God, or realize, I didn't even see it at the time, but I do now, well, then we, like Simeon, can say, my life has been fulfilled. I have lived a life worth living. I have lived a full life. So today, on this feast of the Three Kings, finding fulfillment, may you find fulfillment. May you see the face of God, and in seeing it, become the face of God for those in their journey looking for the same.